Audio Jungle.
And good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Inside Sports Talk Radio. As you know, last week it was a special Monday. So I just want to introduce two distinguished gentlemen that are joining us in studio today, Mr. Gladwin Lambert, and Mr. George Hayward, who never walks alone, Mr. Basin. Just want to let you know about that.
Who's that, Mr. Lambert or Mr. Hayward?
Mr. Hayward.
Mr. Hayward
Never walks alone.
Mr. Hayward would want to walk alone sometimes.
No, never. We just never walk alone. But anyway.
I put out this for. I don't even root for a team. But anyway, yeah.
I just had to put that in there.
Yeah.
Mr. Basin, please stop hating, please.
Listen, I can't hate because I don't even have a team.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I don't have a team. So
We got a team for you.
nothing in red. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Nothing in red. It's all good. It's all good.
So we got that over with.
Yeah, got that over. We'll end with it as well.
I'm sure.
I'm sure we will. But look, good afternoon. Welcome to Inside Sports Talk Radio. You guys are here for the 75th annual Comet Race, coming from the west going down to the east this year. It's an annual event. It's a big event in Bermuda. I'll start with you, Mr. Lambert. Explain to us some history behind this event.
Well, the Comet racing started, first the long distance race started in 1944.
Mm.
They started building these boats in 1941. Well, formed the club in 1941.
Mm.
And but it then led on to the, it was decided after having a club, when it got around 1944, it was suggested, how about having our long distance race?
Mm.
The first long distance race started from Somerset Bridge, where the ferry dock is, just off from there.
Mm-hmm.
And they raced, to St. George's, Ron St. Catherine's. This was the course that they were supposed to sail on, which was Ron St. Catherine's up through St. George's Cut and finish into St. George's Harbor.
Right.
Due to the bad weather, 12 boats started, and they 4 finished. And they happened to let them go through Ferry Reach because the weather was so bad.
Mm.
It also happened that my father was the one, Ken Ute Lambert, that won this long distance race the first time. So they opened the bridge up so the guys, because there's only 4 boats to go through, everybody else had sunk up or broken up. And so that was the first long distance race.
Okay.
That they had. Edward Cross then came in the following year. He took part, he might have been one of those that took part in it, but decided to actually donate a trophy, a very large, beautiful cedar cup for the guys to race for this annual long distance race.
Understood. Mr. Hayward, you know some history behind this. Why is it so significant, this event, this time of the year?
Well, my friend, sailing has taken leaps and bounds for Bermudian, and for the local kids that another boat to come into. I've been around sailing, Gladwin pulled me in and kept pulling me in and kept pulling me in and kept pulling me in.
Yes.
But you couldn't pull me in yesterday.
You would have to do that anyway.
just thought I'd mention that. You kept pulling me in, kept pulling me in.
Well, yesterday we talked about that.
Okay, all right.
But the significance of this race is, it's to me personally, my family never sailed, and they wonder how I got into this, and that's another story in itself. But with my kids, my background playing football, my kids just took to sailing, and every kid that I have seen, discipline-wise, if you let your children go sailing, I mean, it would change a lot, period. I mean, the spirit of Bermuda is one thing, but the common class, you got the guys like Lavin, myself, Stevie, whoever, they will back you, help you, push you along, and, keep the class going. This is the only class that's out there, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
You know what I mean? With the 3 clubs, it's strong. The bond is strong. You can't break that. As much as they've tried, you can't break that. With the sailing part of it, for about 10, 15, and maybe even 20 years, I was the only one at Mid-Atlantic Boat Club. Gladwin tried to pull me away to come to join Somerset. Stevie tried to pull me away to go to St. George's. I stayed in Mid-Atlantic Book Club because the person that got me really sailing, Stickles Henderson Jr. I just went training football one day, went swimming. He said, let's go sailing. And I said, I'd never sailed before in my life. I got in the boat and got in it again. And 2 weeks later, I got my own boat, And, Gladwin pushed me along. And, I was determined to be a pain in the neck to somebody else. That was my goal.
Right.
Right now, Steve has been a pain in my neck. I hope he's listening. But he's, again, pushing me along. And I know that.
Right.
I should be a lot further than I am.
Uh-huh.
But for work commitments and other committees that I got myself on, it was incredible.
Right.
So sailing to me, to answer your question, sailing to me is a fundamental life of Bermuda. You know what I mean? For your kids to strive at. Football is one thing, cricket is one thing, and then it's sailing. Nothing will beat it. Nothing. You have to be disciplined to get out there, get in the boat, get out there, and get back.
Fair enough. Stevie Dickinson is the man that's conquered this event for a number of years. What makes him so successful?
Time he puts in the boat. Time he puts in the boat.
I feel he has an edge of being gifted, as well as like George said, he seems to go in great depths in his research in his own self and how this sailboat operates, what makes it go fast. He just goes in very deep, and it's him to be the best that he can be in this particular boat or a sailboat. Stevie is just he's the one that he seems to be he has it, and he's able to improve himself over and over and over, and is never satisfied. Although he's won this race 21 times, this guy is still right now wanting to find a way to make this boat go faster. But the good thing about it is he is willing to spread all his talent, his information, the how to operate this boat. He was on George yesterday a bit, because he actually Stevie ran. I'm gonna be a little more mindful.
You don't have to be honest there.
But Stevie ran the races for us yesterday.
Right.
But he was, even after each race, he was willing to give a little tip here, a little tip there. This guy, he ran abroad and raced. I ran and raced with in the internationals. I skippered my own boat, and he won this international regatta abroad. And the president of the Comic Class Association abroad said, we have had a clinic put on here today. Well, this week.
Yeah.
Because Stevie said won 5 races. 5 races, won 5 races. Had to throw out a first, something that I'm wishing to get. His throwing a first out. No, this is in the internationals abroad. Won the series, but when they had the presentation in the United States at Levelette Yacht Club, the president said, we have had a clinic put on in this regatta that particular year. He sailed so well, and to hear it come from the president of the Comic Class Association abroad, who's a very good sailor, that's high props for Stevie.
Well, obviously this year he's got a bit of something to bite on. Well, Malcolm came out last year, sailed to victory. Obviously Rudy was second, and then Stevie was in with Heath as a crew. But it's not the first time that Steve has actually been a crew, because he's been a crew several times, and actually been in a winning boat as a crew as well. But now I think with that gauntlet that Malcolm put down last year, because he really sailed well.
He did.
I think he's now got that hunger back to say, I need to come back and take care of this challenge kind of thing. And I know Malcolm's up for it as well, because he loves that type of atmosphere as well.
He's a competitive and a very good sailor. A dinky sailor.
Right.
To see sail Sunfish, he's sailed in the Worlds, finished like 3rd, maybe even 2nd. I'm not sure if he won it or not, but I know they were having like 100 boats.
Right.
And Sunfish Regattas, World Championships. And he raced lasers, he raced snipes.
Right.
and always done well in all of those dinky boats.
Right.
And he's taken a liking because Malcolm has raced in this long distance race at least 5 times.
Yeah.
But last year he won it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, I think Earl was on the boat.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm correct, we had 3 boats that this has never finished, never happened before.
I think it was 10
Where
seconds separated them.
I was told 15.
Yeah.
15
like
seconds, 3 boats finishing, traveling 18 miles and finishing 15 seconds apart. It's never
And you know
happened.
the funny part about that is each of them took a different course.
Look at that.
Because Rudy went down, Stevie went up,
Yes.
and
Came to the middle.
yeah, he came. Yeah,
Came to the
yeah.
middle.
Yes.
And but they kept changing to see because Malcolm went down inshore early with Heath, but then Heath came out, got a lift, but they had to keep going out.
Yes.
And they got the lift coming back. But when Malcolm tacked, he had that straight beat to the finish line, and
Yes.
Rudy had to come up. But just this, I mean, it takes a bit of a luck as well. Because the wind shift, you could reading it, and it doesn't do what you want it to do, sort of thing.
That's right, keeping your boat speed and
Yeah.
things like that. But it was very exciting even for the people
Right.
that were at West End Sailboat Club to see the finish.
Mm-hmm.
Those that came out in their own private boats,
Mhm.
which I do encourage people to come out and help us out to keep this comic long distance race going. Come out and support something that we have tried to carry the baton. That's what George and all the comic sailors are doing. We're carrying the baton to keep the
The
racing
one
going.
thing I would say to those boat users is it's very important when we get around by Fort St. Catherine that you stay away. Either get inside or stay outside and stay away from the town cut, because it gets a little tricky around Fort St. Catherine
Yes.
into getting to the channel. And when boats are starting to move all within the sailors, it makes it that much more difficult.
Yeah.
So I know
Especially
every
if
year
we're
we had that
finishing.
problem.
If we're finishing down there and it's, but even when we come out and come along there, I know people want to get a close
Close up,
ringside seat,
yeah.
but there's times, and there's a lot of people that come out to watch the race,
Mhm.
don't really fully understand sailing,
Yeah.
but they're supporting it. It's something different,
Mhm.
and it could be exciting to
Right.
them. Until you come out and experience it,
Right.
you won't know.
Just
you
pay
know?
attention to the sailor, because the sailor's gonna. If
Yeah.
somebody's taking your breeze,
Yeah.
they don't realize they're taking your breeze, but you can
Yes.
see the puff coming,
Yeah.
and you're telling them about. Just pay attention to the sailor. That's all you gotta do. Pay attention.
I just want to add one more thing to that. When you're talking Stevie and Malcolm and things like that, we're getting now a changing of the guard with Maxwell Curtis and
Yeah.
Raymond.
Mm.
And, they've taken up the mantle to go overseas for the internationals.
Mm-hmm.
Went up there, bought 2 new boats back, which is something that we haven't had in years.
Mm.
Bringing new boats to Bermuda,
Mm.
and that in itself, they are committed to building this class and bringing it on.
Yeah.
I like to give a shout out to the lady Commodore. He's his boat. What's his name? Max Washington.
Jacal.
He's fixed up his boat. It's dedicated to his mom. It's dedicated sailing to his mom. That's a heart.
He's named this boat.
The lady Commodore.
Lady
Right.
Commodore.
Right.
After Patty Washington, the late Commodore of East End Mini Yacht Club.
Right.
So, having said all of that, the history of this class is phenomenal.
Right.
You can't beat this.
Mm.
Someday, I've been a sportsman all my life, playing football, and to see some of that, the older Devonshire Lions and, all those pictures that are out there, there are comic class pictures out there as well.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And to see that, Dale Butler put out a book, and I just happened to flick through and I saw Howard Hayward, my uncle.
Mm.
I was, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. He said, but this is better do Flairfield to Flairfield, I think it was, and in Hamilton, just to see that,
Right.
I said, well, damn, that's where it comes from.
Right. Right.
But the backing that we need and the support that we need to keep this going, it's gonna keep going. This guy has anything to do, it's gonna keep going.
All right.
Glavin is sleep, eat, and drinks sailing.
Mm.
For
Common
sure.
class.
For sure.
You know what I mean? He's brought me along with him on the administrative side of it.
Right.
Yes, yes.
That's why my sailing's going back. So.
Excuses.
Any excuse would do.
Any excuses.
Well, I'm doing it, and I'm still
I
saying
just
it.
to
All
say,
right.
Mr. Lemon got 4 wins yesterday.
Oh!
What would you say?
I had to work. I was working.
Well, you was working. You was working, right? You was working. You was
Working to catch up?
Yeah.
But back to the event itself. It's the
Yes.
75th event this coming Monday. Anything special that's going to be taking place?
Yes, I would like to, because we're gonna build up from this week,
Mhm.
from starting. Well, it's actually starting from Thursday, and on June the 13th, which is the Thursday, we're having a talk at East Amity Yacht Club.
Mhm.
It's a talk going to start at 6 o'clock.
Mhm.
This talk is being done by Maxine Asdale and Shirley Pearman,
Mhm.
who's gonna talk about Bermuda Native Yacht Club and history of sailing of Bermuda.
Oh.
And naturally, it's the black sailors that used to sail these boats for the people they work for,
Right.
and as a job to deliver food and all that around Bermuda. And these guys then race the boat with the owner on Sundays. This is how far it goes back to the native yacht, and then the Native Yacht Club. They will elaborate on that at East Amity Yacht Club on Thursday. Now on June the 14th, we're having a barbecue on the terrace at the West End Sailboat Club, starting at 7 o'clock.
Mhm.
This is all built up to our long distance race. On June the 15th, on the Saturday, they're having a Children's Day at the Mid Atlantic Boat and Sports Club,
Mhm.
starting at 1 o'clock
Okay.
until 5. So all the clubs are, although it's the West End Sailboat Club's long distance race, but we have such camaraderie with the 3 clubs.
Everyone's partaking in
And
this.
and it's been happening a few years now where we've got closer and closer, and then next year we've got the 2020 Comic International is going to be held in Bermuda, and all 3 clubs is involved in that as well. But I know we're talking about the 75th. So on the 16th, we're having a memorial service at the West End Sailboat Clubs at 9 o'clock.
Mhm.
Now, we had that last year, and really it was successful. This is to honor anyone, any members, past, present, members, friends, anyone involved with West End Sailboat Club. We asked them, come out, because we're honoring all these people that made or started the West End Sailboat Club and being a part of this 75 years, because it's a baton that's just been carried on
Right.
from John Davis, Mike Allen Butterfield, Tudor Lambert, Mr. Manders, Charlie Swan, Mickey Manders, Charles Swan, and a lot more. Stuart Parrington, Ansby Parrington, Gene Philpott. All these guys were the starters that you remember the Tin Top Carpenter Shop at Sunview Road in Somerset.
Yep.
These guys met there after work
Oh.
before they went home. And that's how these talks got about. And they were just poking around with little punts then. And then went into the let's send away for this plan that they saw in this magazine. And they brought the plans in, and a lot of these guys were carpenters and started to build these boats.
Yeah.
And they started sailing around West Side Somerset between 9 Beaches and Willow Bay. That's where they had their first lot of races.
Wow.
And then they started taking their boats through Somerset Bridge.
Mm.
And I, very young, at 10 years old, rush home from Sunday school, and then I can go sailing in the afternoon, help to carry the mast through the Somerset Bridge, which opens about 20 inches, which many people nowadays, and a lot of the young people, have never seen this bridge open.
Yeah.
We would just guide the mass through, and if it was 8 boats, we had to stop all the traffic and just guide the mass through, and race just off of Somerset Bridge. But one other thing, so that's going to take place at 9 o'clock. We're also going to have a codfish breakfast. On the terrace, we're going to have wreaths throwing overboard to honor these people that have helped to bring this West End Sailor Club and comics this far. Also, which is also Father's Day, but on the 17th is the Edward Cross Long Distance Race, which is on Heroes Day. And the race starts at 11 o'clock, all for the West End Sailor Club. And we're heading St. George's, and I'm hoping for some good weather because 2011, Earl knows about that one too.
What was it? 15 started, 1 finished?
One finish and turned over 7 times. The guy that finished. So anyhow, I'll leave it up to you if you want to ask a few more. Or...
Sure. Before we get the next guest in.
Yes.
Now these boats, because you talked about Max and Dale bringing in the 2 new boats. They've made so many improvements to the boats to make them lighter and faster. How do you guys counteract that? Because you still have the first model double bottom boats, and these ones here are you could tell.
Well, I feel that they've built up the fleet. The challenge is out there. You just go get them.
Right.
They're after Stevie. We're after them.
Right.
So it's bringing the fleet a lot closer. Yeah, you know what I mean? I mean, they had to flag through the flag bill. You know, Dale capsized 3 times or twice, and still got up and managed to what? He came second. Yes, he did. Yeah. But the challenge is still there, and there's a lot of people going to be challenging these guys now. I think before years going by, it was a foregone conclusion Steve was going to win.
Right.
It probably still is.
Right.
But at the same time, he's not going to have it his own way.
Right.
You know, it's not. It's really not.
Right.
You know, I mean, when we come in after sailing, you know, the talks that we got on, you know, that green boat or that red boat or that white boat or that, mostly the green boat.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know why, but it's mostly the green boat.
Both some melody. Both some melody. Yeah.
But I tell you, the boats that are still there, like Stevie's, Bayless, Mines, he's got George got a double bottom. All the double bottoms are still competitive.
Right.
Like Howard Lee, one of our veteran sailors, always said, it's better to go slow the right way than to go fast the wrong way. He always told all of us that. And it speaks for itself. But we're not, these guys, although the boats are right on weight, although there's a few other boats that are the same. Stevie's boat's 9 pound overweight, but you still gotta sail well. So I really still feel that a lot of the comics that are in the fleet is still competitive. These guys still need to sail well, and I've beaten both of those boats this year. So and I've had 2 tiebreakers.
Any sightings of temptation yet?
No.
That was gonna come up.
No.
Oh, it's got to come up. I mean, without a doubt, it has to come up.
I don't understand. I've given 2 calls, and he said, yeah, but I'll get back to you, Glad. And I'm just leaving it up to him. We're talking about Rudy Bailey. I really would like for Rudy still be a part of this. All that helps to, because people want to see competition and nice tight hooks. So I'm still hoping that Rudy will change his mind. Although if his boat's not ready, I told him I could help him to look around to find a boat for him to sail, like I've done the last 2 years.
Just adding to one more thing to that how strong the class is. We've got 4 youngsters under 12 that are crewing, and they're ready to sail. You know, they're sailing up. Just my crew, J.H. Smith, he sailed in the Orange Bowl overseas. Done very well. You know, there's the youngsters that are coming through the ranks. So the comic class is strong, very strong.
Before we wrap up, John, numbers. What sort of numbers you looking for on Monday?
Right now I got 16.
Okay.
16 that's registered,
There you
and
go.
they paid the money, everything
Okay.
there. So
Okay.
I'm expecting the 17th book.
Probation.
It's talking about temptation.
I know.
Earl, I know it's going to be there. Earl has been, I'm going to tell you, a stone comic follower, although he's working. And when I call Earl, and he's
Is it?
always ready to come on board, and he'll be on the committee board again. He hasn't called me, tell me he's not, so I'm assuming he will be this year. And I will just leave it like that.
Okay.
But
And all our person get your red jersey.
Mr. Lambert, I will be there.
It's letting you know. It's letting you know.
Oh, thanks
All
a
right.
lot, guys. This is
Yes.
interesting.
Not a problem, gentlemen. Thank you for coming on board. It's a pleasure having you on, and all the best on Monday. And may the best sail win.
thank you
Stevie
very
can
much.
make a record, make it 22.
Yeah,
As real quickly, as an individual athlete in Bermuda, Stevie must hold the record in Bermuda, like for most wins as an individual sport. If you think about it, 21 wins,
Yeah.
that's a lot of wins.
And
Right?
Rudy Bailey has won it 11 times.
But that don't equal
Yeah.
21.
I know.
That's like,
But I'm just saying that
Yeah.
there's others that have. And
Right.
Rudy and Stevie really battled.
yeah, I remember this.
It was very close. And
Yeah.
then
Remember,
I
Stevie
don't
got a
know.
good start when he was younger
Yeah.
and ran off like 4 in a row.
Right.
Yeah.
And then that battle started. They were in
And don't
3
forget
and them in 3 and then.
Elton Millet.
Yeah.
Elton Millet, Kitty Hawk
Yep.
won it 11 times.
That's right.
I've only won it twice. Howard Lee's won it 3 times.
3
Howard
times.
Simmons
Yeah.
has won it maybe 3 times. And then a lot of individuals
Yeah.
like David Wall has
Mhm.
won it once. Colin Clark.
Okay.
Every now and then, and here Malcolm Smith broke it there last
Last
year.
Mhm.
And I'm telling you, he's no slush.
That's right.
They really got to watch him again this year.
Okay.
And he's got a good book.
All right.
All right, my friends.
I look out
Thanks.
for my friend, Never Walk Alone.
Yeah, I'm gonna put that on the book.
That's what I'm talking about.
Gladys gonna be looking at the
You might
back.
have to look down the back. So.
Yeah, Gladys gonna be looking at the back of it.
That's what we're saying.
You got
Gentlemen, thank you very much. We'll
Thanks
take a
for having
commercial
us.
break. We have our
Thanks for
next
having
guest join us in studio. We'll be back after this.
Earl Basin. It's now time for our health and fitness segment with Dave Wolf. Brought to you by the Argus Group and Fit for Life.
And welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio. Joining us now via telephone is Shakira Warner. She's the population health specialist for the Argus Group. Good afternoon to you, ma'am.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Sounds like you just came from the gym, huh?
Actually, no, not quite. I'm planning to go later on this afternoon.
Oh, I just thought I'd take a guess. I guess I'm wrong this time.
I did just run down the steps, so that's why I might sound a little bit out of breath.
It's all good. It's all good. Now, interesting. You got some good topics or tips you like to talk about today, and they're very important because it's summertime, and we were talking about this discussion about sleep today in Dave Wolf's class earlier this morning. With the temperature getting hot, people's air conditioners are coming on at night, or the ceiling fans or fans. Some of us don't like to turn air conditioners on. Earl Bays knows about that, about certain staff members. But one point that stands out here, I'm looking at your statements here, is that why restful sleep is so important. And my question is, it seems like we get really restless during the summer. Is it because of the heat more so than anything?
I think so. I think, we have to, many of us have different ways in which we get prepared for sleep or feel comfortable enough to sleep. And a lot of times, if you're, feeling the heat or if you're feeling the humidity, that becomes uncomfortable and can be disruptive to you getting sleep. So as you were saying earlier, sleep is a very, very important part of your overall health and well-being. And so far in this series, we've talked a lot about kind of physical aspects of fitness as well as the mental health side of things. But really, sleep is a component of health and well-being that benefits both. So regular good quality sleep is actually very important for brain functioning, also emotional well-being, physical health, your daytime performance, whether that's at work or if you are performing as an athlete, for example, and also personal safety.
And you're right about that. But interesting enough that the average person, I'm just using Bermuda as an example, we don't realize how important sleep is. Do trainers and professionals like yourself explain to those who are trying to get themselves in shape or just train and explain that the importance of sleep is for the individual?
Definitely. So sleep actually plays a pretty important role in a few processes. So, for example, as it relates to training, rest and sleep is important for the recovery of muscles. Also, it's important for keeping your immune system working. So, a lot of times, if we don't get enough sleep, we're more susceptible to becoming ill. Also, it's good for keeping your heart and your blood vessels healthy. So, your heart is a muscle too, and it's working and working, and it needs time for rest and recovery as well. Also, what a lot of people don't know is that sleep is actually good for regulating your appetite as well as your weight and also controlling your blood sugar levels. So if you don't get enough sleep, those things can also be thrown out of whack or can have an impact on your appetite and your weight, etc.
And let me ask this
Sounds good.
question.
Sounds good.
Explain to people the difference between rest and sleep as
Mm.
far as your body conditions.
Okay, so you can think of rest as in any state whereby your body is still, your heart rate decreases, your breathing decreases. So this could mean, for example, sitting down in a quiet space or being sedentary. Whereas sleep is actually a physiological process whereby your body or certain aspects of your body kind of shut down. So, for example, you lose muscle tone, so you don't. So your muscles are not able to move, and your heart rate slows down to kind of something that is kind of lower than what you would typically find if you're sedentary. And then also, as I mentioned, these physiological processes happen. So your digestion happens. Your body's muscles are able to recover. Your brain function and memory restoration happens. So that's kind of the difference between rest, because you can be at rest during the daytime while you're awake, and sleep, which is actually a process whereby your body kind of shuts down in order to restore itself.
Now, you have a lot of people that double up on jobs, so they'll work a 9 to 5 and then go to a second job that's 6 to midnight of the sorts, and then get up and do the same thing over and over again. What advice would you have for someone that's doing that on a regular basis? Because they need, well, number one, they need rest, and then number two, they need to sleep to make sure that the body can recover.
Yeah, definitely. And now we're kind of getting into some of the barriers to good quality sleep. And you do raise a really good point about shift work. So we know that shift work can, especially if you're working the night shift or the graveyard shift, it does kind of interfere with our natural body clock. So typically, we operate according to day versus night, so light versus dark. But when you are working in shifts or, working those late night shifts, that kind of can get thrown out of whack. So what we do say, understanding that shift work is a fact of life. You have to figure out ways in which you can work with it so that your health and well-being is maximized. So one of the things that I would suggest is to work with your management team to ensure that you're not doing kind of frequent changes in shift work. So perhaps keeping some sort of routine. So not switching it up too often so that you can build a routine. Also, another thing that we would suggest is to invest in some good quality blackout blinds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's some good points. But before we go further, we're going to take a commercial break. We'll be back in 30 seconds. So stay on the line and be back after this.
We're on.
Just during the commercial break, Earl and I and Don were just discussing about shift work. Earl brought up a good point about those who are doing 12-hour shifts. It's just as challenging if someone's working from 8 to 8. And you was explaining about the daylight.
Yeah, most people don't sleep in the day past X amount of hours. So they struggle. They'll sleep like 4 hours. and then it's the rest of the day they're mobile kind of thing.
So then at night comes the tired.
Yeah, back
So-
to that 8 to 8 shift.
Wow.
So how does the body recover?
So the recommendation for adults is between 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And, understanding that a lot of times that's not always possible, especially if you are kind of working, 2 jobs or you've got long shifts. So what we do kind of recommend is that you try to make up that sleep as best as you can. And understanding that it is very challenging to do so, but making sure that you do have time for rest. Say, for example, if you have an opportunity for a break, kind of taking advantage of that to take a quick nap, etc.
That's kind of hard in one way. It depends on what shift you're doing because I'm just using police or fire. They're like on the go 24/7. It's kind of hard for them to get rest, and then sometimes they have to work more than 12 hours a day.
Yeah, and I think that raises a really good point because if you are working at that level for those numbers of hours, not having opportunities for rest can impact your performance, and in some jobs that can actually have health and safety implications. So that's why it's very important for employees and their employer to have that conversation whereby they're excessively tired or they find that their performance is jeopardizing the quality of their work or jeopardizing safety, that they need to have those conversations to ensure that those shifts or those work schedules are managed in a way that their employees can operate safely.
Cool. Also, there's pointers on sleep hygiene tips. Can you just give us some input on that?
Yeah, so there are some things that we can do to help promote sleep or kind of get our bodies, our minds ready for sleep. Because we know that there are some barriers to getting good sleep quality, things that we can't exactly control. Say, for example, if your partner snores, that's a little bit out of control. But what you can do is actually prepare or engage in habits and practices that are conducive to sleeping well, taking into account things that are in your control, such as your behaviors and your sleeping environment. In terms of what you can do to improve your sleep hygiene, the first thing is to get up and go to bed at the same time every day. So again, as I mentioned earlier, we talked about your body's internal clock, and getting up and going to bed at the same time can help manage your wake and sleep cycles. And that actually comes into play with shift workers, because if you're able to kind of get up and then go to bed at the same time every day, you can get into a good sleep habit, a good sleep schedule. So the second tip is to create a comfortable sleeping environment and use your room primarily for sleep. Sometimes our bedrooms become the multi-purpose room. So we've got, our work in there, maybe entertaining, maybe we have a pet that tries to move in there as well. But really, you have to make your bedroom a place that's your sanctuary, that's cool, that's dark, that's comfortable, and also is kind of a low stimulation type of place that doesn't allow for many distractions. So one of the tips that I give to our clients is maybe even think about making your bedroom a no-fly zone for your mobile devices. So that's your iPad, your cell phones, especially 30 minutes before bedtime, because we know that the light from those devices can affect your sleeping as well, and then cause some distractions.
It's amazing how you mentioned that the iPads and the iPhones, because before this invention of that technology, we had a phone and it rang and we just woke up and we went back to sleep. Nowadays, you're right. People want an iPad, on the iPhone.
It's in bed.
It's in bed and you're sleeping with it, right? Yeah. It's going to be kind of a challenge to tell people you need to put that aside or don't bring it to the room. You know that, right?
Yeah, but basically these kind of sleep hygiene tips, these are habits. So yes, it does take work to build these habits and incorporate them into your day-to-day life. But the payoff means better sleep for you. So these are some things that you can try. If you can't live without, scrolling in bed, then, maybe think about another option that works for you.
Good point. Good point. Well, I want to. Sorry, go ahead.
Also, watch what you consume in the evening. So
Inside Sports Talk Radio.
Sorry, go ahead. I don't hear. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, we're there. Go ahead. We just had a technical problem. Go ahead.
Don't worry. So watch what you consume in the evening. So avoiding caffeine, sugar, nicotine, and alcohol 4 to 6 hours. So a lot of people don't think about, and this is actually because we're living in the summertime, is that alcohol can actually be a sleep disruptor.
Alcohol?
Yeah, alcohol. So it may put you to sleep. However, it's not necessarily good quality, restful sleep that you're getting.
I'll keep that in mind. I would definitely keep that in mind. Yeah, I got to leave that stuff alone. Yeah. I can say that because those who know me.
I heard her say coffee as well. 6 hours before you go to bed.
Yeah, 4 to 6 hours. But of course, this is all individual. Some people like to have a little coffee, after dinner, with dessert if they have it. But caffeine is a stimulant. So for some people, it makes them kind of more awake and alert, and it can give them trouble in falling asleep.
Well, I haven't had any problems, and I have a coffee before I go to bed. So.
Like I said, it's individual. It's how your body works. And then also, the last tip I want to give about sleep hygiene is to exercise, but at the right time. I'm going to repeat that. Exercise, but at the right time. Engaging in regular exercise is actually really good for supporting your sleeping habits. However, if you exercise within about 4 hours of your bedtime, that can actually be counteractive to you falling asleep. And that's because after you exercise, you get, your body is kind of pumping with these endorphins and feel-good hormones, and your body is actually still kind of revved up. So if you're trying to go to sleep after doing some kind of moderate to vigorous intensity exercise, it can be a little bit challenging.
That's a good point. You're right. There are some people that go training at 8 o'clock at night and wonder why at 10:30 they're still awake, or 11 o'clock they're wide awake. Well, because you're training at night. For me, I'm fortunate. I could train at 8 o'clock and I'll be asleep by 10:30. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm one of those fortunate people. I could train at 6 o'clock in the morning and tell me to take a rest at 9. I'll go sleep at 9. I'm just very fortunate in that area. But thank you very much. Go ahead.
No problem. But I think the main point here, the main takeaway is that we can all think about ways in which we can improve our sleep habits and sleep hygiene so that we can get, good, restful sleep, because we know how important that is to our physical as well as our mental and emotional well-being. Because, sleep plays a really important role in certain rest and recovery processes. So while sleep hygiene is a very individual thing, some people, like Earl, can drink a cup of coffee before bed and be fine and get good restful sleep. Others have to be a bit more conscious and intentional about, what they do in order to set themselves up for a good night's rest.
Spot on. Thank you very much, ma'am. Any final comments you'd like to add before we wrap up? No further comments from me, but hoping that you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Likewise, you enjoy the rest of your day, and you have a safe holiday next week.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you very much. And we're going to take a commercial break, and we come back. We will have Mr. John Baird join us in the studio.
Radio, Inside Sports Talk Radio on Power 95 FM with host Ian Rollins and co-host Earl Baston.
Well, Ian, in just a matter of weeks, Bermuda athletes will embark on another journey heading over to the Island Games. Joining us in the studio right now, the president of the Bermuda Island, chairman of the local chapter of the Island Games Committee, Mr. John Baird. Welcome, Mr. Baird. How are you?
Very good, Mr. Basin. Wonderful to see you again.
Yes, it's been a while.
It's been a while.
The island games we tend to really do well every other year, which when they're held.
Sure.
This time around, July 6th through the 12th. You said?
Correct.
Okay. Whereabouts is it being held this time?
Okay. This time it's in Gibraltar, which is probably the smallest of the Island Games locations. But for whatever reason, they've built these incredible facilities there. They've built a 50-meter pool, much like ours. They've built a new track, new football pitches. They've built new sports hall for badminton, etc. So they've got incredible facilities. And interestingly, talking to them and some of the other islands, when the event was here, that proved a catalyst to some of the smaller places to say, wow, look what Bermuda did. We should try and emulate it.
Right.
And their pool is pretty much built along the same lines as ours. They need a roof on it, ideally, in the long run, because of the issue with the Gibraltar apes,
Right.
and with seagulls.
Oh, okay.
But that won't be on there for the games.
Right.
But everything else looks like it's in great shape there.
When you look at these type of games going on, obviously because it started out, they used to call it small island games.
Yeah.
They took the word small island out. But obviously, when you go to host these games, some sports don't make it.
Yep.
Obviously, because of facility-wise.
For sure.
Which ones lost out this time around?
That's that's a good question, because because smaller islands are looking to take it, then you get in the situation where we can't do everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had a similar situation here, but volleyball, sadly, this year, other than beach volleyball,
Right.
won't be competing.
indoor,
and
right.
yet, probably for the Island Games, volleyball's one for which there was a great catalyst.
Mm-hmm.
It really, I think, anyway, they may disagree.
Yeah.
It helped pick the sport up. They've really gone from strength to strength with their program.
Right.
There's hundreds of people involved. But they're going to have beach volleyball, and they've got 8 people involved in that.
Oh, okay.
And I think I'll go back to what you said before. It's the numbers involved that are important. You know, I mean, it's not CAC,
Right.
it's not Olympics, it's
Right.
not Commonwealth Games.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for me, it's a great step for somewhere sort of from the Carifta type athlete or the weekend warrior.
Mm-hmm.
Here, it's that step above for
Right.
everybody, and gives all of those in Bermuda who compete that chance to compete at an equitable level.
Right.
You know, it's not like you're going to go up against, as we saw, Colombia or countries with millions in the population. You've got a situation where you should win.
Right.
Or sorry, you should win. You should be able to compete on an equitable playing
Right.
field.
When you look at numbers, what numbers are we looking at as participating for Bermuda this time around
Well, we're looking at 50 to 55.
across so many
Yeah,
sports?
that's just athletes across. Sorry, I was a PE teacher. I was adding up. That was 9. 9
Okay,
sports.
across 9 sports.
And as I say, volleyball's missed out. Basketball, I'm not doing it this year. It's a cost thing, is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Getting to Gibraltar is not particularly cheap.
Right.
And to go back on your previous conversation, it's been a catalyst for a number of sports. Women's football actually is an interesting one,
Mhm.
because when we first started, they took part in Shetland,
Yes.
and then they took part in Rhodes,
Right.
and were successful. I think they got maybe bronze medals in both of them.
Mhm.
I'm sure they'll tell me I'm wrong, if I am wrong. And that was a good catalyst, I think, to keep their program going at the international level.
Right.
And then, of course, FIFA were able to fund CONCACAF competition,
right,
and,
which is-
and understandably, that's where
Rose
they
at the
go.
top of that. Yeah.
And it's the same, I think, for basketball,
Mm-hmm.
because they can get funded for competition in the Caribbean
Right.
or Central America. The only problem you have is the level you keep coming up against,
Right.
and you've got to reach that level. But for me, this is the stepping stone.
Mhm.
Who can make it? How good are you? And let's go. I know badminton have got young Aaron Simmons
Yeah.
going with them, and I think that'll be a great stepping stone for Aaron. But at least it'll also be, he'll know where he is with these
Right,
situations. Because you just get. I was talking to Donna Watson and some of the others about our problem of competition on the island.
Mm-hmm.
You just keep playing against the same people and
people,
competing
right.
against the same
Right.
people.
Right.
If you want to get better, you've got to get out there and see what you can do.
How many other countries are taking part this time around?
There'll be 23 other islands taking part. And of course, some of those are Olympians, but they're Olympians for their national country. For,
Right.
you know, Scotland, it'll be Finland.
Right.
For Shetland, it would be Scotland.
Right.
So they're up against some really good
Mm-hmm.
competition always.
Right.
It's never easy, these things. And so, yeah, as you said, we're going to miss cycling, we're going to miss basketball. Those have been kind of part of our stable teams
Right.
over the years.
Right.
How much of an impact has Island Games played for Bermuda, meaning our athletes, as you mentioned earlier, the world just now, that our competition, which is like going over and over, competing against the same level, but the Island Games is a little different, brings out more. So has it been a major impact for our athletes?
I think it has, particularly as it I think it's been an impetus for a number of sports. You keep playing here and you think, okay, I'm brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go and play, as you know, you can go to the States or Canada and play at a really high level and you think, oh my God, I'm in real trouble here.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But there's always a level, and it just for me, we just need that next stepping stone for athletes to get into it, be comfortable, and then be ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where we are. I mean, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, people like Tyler Butterfield competed back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
Caden Hopkins, Dominic Mayo, all of those sort of high quality athletes
Right.
have taken part.
Right.
I mean, Cheyenne Smith is coming back to take part in this.
Oh, okay.
She took part in Guernsey some
Right.
years ago, and one of the other events. And you know, terrific athlete, but based in Europe, I
Yeah.
think.
Right.
Yeah.
So it gives them a chance to be able to compete as well.
Definitely. When you speak to the athletes, are they geared up for this year's event from July 6th to the 12th? Are they excited about it for this year?
From everything I've heard, yes, they definitely are. I mean, for reasons that I fail to comprehend, is that some people seem to think this is just a bunch of people going out, having a good time and doing some sport. But it's far from it. I mean, these are athletes who are dedicated, who know what they've got to do,
Mm-hmm.
put their heart and soul into it, and represent Bermuda extremely well.
Right.
So I'm always stunningly impressed. And the great thing is, if they've got downtime, a lot of them just go and watch the other Bermuda
sport,
teams,
yeah,
which we never have an opportunity to do.
Right. What would it take for Bermuda to host this event again?
Well, I think it needs, that's a good question. Obviously money in whatever you do. I mean, the problem with the games is obviously you were going to Europe now.
Right.
It becomes expensive for the athletes. It's if it wasn't for the sponsors that we have for the tracksuits, for helping with those who are struggling financially, then it would be out of the league for a lot of people. But I mean, most of these athletes are having to pay their own airfare, having to pay something towards their accommodation, and they're going because they love sport. But for us to host it here, we've got to realise that for people coming from Europe, it's a major haul as well.
Yeah.
But people love it, and loved Bermuda, still talk about it as a phenomenal games. And it was. You know, a lot of people put a lot of hard work into it.
Who's hosting in 2 years' time?
2 years' time is Guernsey,
Oh, okay.
which was the first games we went to, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you go to that one?
No, I didn't.
Which one did you go to?
My partner went to Guernsey one. I didn't go.
You went to Rhodes.
No, I didn't. I haven't been to any.
Really?
Yeah. Sterling went to.
Oh, Sterling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that was in Guernsey.
Okay.
Yeah.
The locations aren't exotic enough for you. Yeah, that's the basic.
I was busy. I was working hard. Just as I do when you see me any other time.
Yeah, well, we'll move on from that.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is, what's nice is the number of returning athletes.
Right.
David Thomas was in one of our actually the first games we went to was Shetland, and the tennis at that time was held in Gibraltar.
Right.
And David Thomas went there, and David Thomas is going to be playing in this one as
Okay.
well. In fact, he'll be our flag bearer because been a tremendous ambassador for Bermuda.
Okay.
Cool.
Nice.
Any final comments you'd like to add, sir, that we did not ask?
Just a thanks to our sponsors, Sun Life International, Argus, Butterfield and Vallis, and Bank Bermuda Foundation. Without them, it just wouldn't be possible for these athletes. But also, a big shout out to these athletes who, they're the guys you see out there every week, whether it's on the roads or in some arena or other. We've got a bowling team going for the first time, and Earl and I were with the bowling team in Colombia, and I was just blown away with their professionalism, attitude, and effort. So I'm looking forward to seeing them, as I am everybody.
Are they got a mixed team or is it?
Yes, they have.
Oh, okay.
So you bowling? I'm just asking.
Yeah, overarm. Yeah.
No, I was talking about bowling.
No. I have little
Technique. On
technique is the word I was going to use, and I was going to say patience because these guys. I was going to say patience, but
If
yeah,
the pins are closer,
It
and the ball doesn't have to travel so far, it'll all be a professional.
It would be wonderful.
Yeah, we'll be professionals.
Okay, all right, I got it. I know he's very competitive, so that's what I'll ask him.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other group we're missing, of course, is golf this time. I
Okay.
mean, you're looking at a really small island, and golf course doesn't come into it. But what has happened there is the military has moved out of their massive married quarters
Right.
and have given it to the island, and they're going to sell these units off. But until they've done that, they're letting them use it for the games.
Oh, okay.
So that's good. And then right next door to it is the University of Gibraltar, go figure, and they've got their own accommodation there, which is right next to their new sports hall, swimming pool, rugby pitch, cricket pitch, and football pitch.
So are they having sevens or full rugby?
There's no rugby
There's no rugby?
because there's not enough of the islands that play rugby.
I could have won that too.
Thank you, Mr.
Cool. Yeah.
Well, we want to wish you all the best. I know I'm listening to a few of the sponsors. They've been with you since the inception.
Oh yeah.
Bermuda joining on to this group.
And I think it's the thing with Bermuda. It's a problem. Each of these sports are having to fundraise in their own way, and then you're asking for sponsors to help in an umbrella
Right.
situation. And the sponsors of this group have been fantastic.
Mm.
But I think it's a problem we all in Bermuda have to deal with one way or another.
Yeah.
It's just we're all looking from the same pot.
Right. We're knocking on the same
No,
door.
no, we all are, and I really applaud people who are able to help out like this.
What day does the team leave? Are they leaving collectively or?
It'll be, as in Colombia, it'll be at different times, and
Opening ceremony is on the 6th or the 5th?
opening ceremony is on the 6th. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's usually a great affair, gets everybody together, and then away we go.
Okay. All right. Well, all the best.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully we can bring back quite a few medals.
Sure.
If not, just great performances and these athletes learning a lot more about themselves and their sport from other people from around the world.
Sure. I mean, we're about 50 down on our normal size, but that's no volleyball, no basketball. We'll do that. But there's some great athletes here, and we look forward to it.
Okay. All right.
Thank you all very
Mr.
much.
Beard.
All right.
Sure. I'll see you out pounding the pavement soon.
Yeah, right.
We'll be back with more Inside Sports Talk after this commercial break.
And welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio. Enjoy your run, Mr. Beard. All right.
I'll be overtaking you.
That you will. You will. Yep. That's why you're starting at 10 to 2. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock. Not a problem.
By yourself.
By yourself. It's okay. He's a good man. He's a very good man. Back to you, Earl. You're actually flying out this week, doing some coverage for us at the Gold Cup. Explain to us what's going to take place regarding coverage.
What's that?
Gold Cup. CONCACAF.
Yeah, CONCACAF Gold Cup is this week. Actually, the first match is on Sunday. We have Bermuda playing Haiti, and then it's in Texas where Bermuda will play Costa Rica. And that's on the 17th, 16th, no, 20th. Yeah, 20th. And then the 24th is Bermuda versus Nicaragua in New Jersey.
So games are 17th, the 20th, and 24th.
No, 16th.
16th. I'm sorry. I'm getting
16th, 20th, 24th.
16th. I'm sorry. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
My understanding is that Donald Trump's gonna be down in Haiti if you guys Croatia game.
But if it's in Haiti, I'm cool because I ain't gonna be in Haiti.
Not in Haiti, in Croatia. I'm sorry.
Croatia or Costa Rica?
Costa Rica. I'm saying Croatia. But I need coffee.
He need, well, yeah. Just before you go to bed.
Yeah, before you go to bed.
He needs to sort out his Mexico thing. He needs to stay in the United States and deal with his
Mexico.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah, signing deals that have already been made agreements on. He's saying that the deal.
new-
Yeah.
Interesting, isn't it?
They must have put a the and an and in one paragraph and it's done.
But seriousness there. What are our chances for me to getting out this group here?
To be honest, it's a tall order. I think with Bermuda going in off of the back of 5 successes, confidence is high. Talking with Coach Carl Lightbourne after the match against Guyana last week Thursday night, he felt that the team was in good spirits. Obviously, they flew out today. They should be within about an hour or an hour and a half getting ready to get on that flight to head down to Costa Rica. So they'll be settled in early. Guyana actually left Bermuda on Saturday, I believe, and they've gone to Costa Rica. They're going to play Costa Rica in a practice match tomorrow, so Bermuda will probably get an opportunity to have a look at that. And then I think the players going in feel as if they stand a good chance. I mean, this one here is uncharted waters for our players. I wouldn't say for most of them, for quite a few of them that are based amateurly in Bermuda, playing local. To get yourself up for 3 games in a short space of time, it's going to be a tall ask of the management and from the players themselves. But I believe they feel good enough that they can match. And hopefully, after the first match, they'll realize that the ball's round, the girls are the same size, the pitches are the same size. So you stand a chance of doing anything great if you all stick together. And that's a one message I think that the team needs, is that they must stick together. And regardless of what the outcome is, people in Bermuda have to support them. I mean, I know there's a lot of people talking about, oh, he plays for this team, that's why he's in the team. We don't need that right now. We need support, total support, and anybody putting anything online that these players can get a message and receive it's got to be positive. So all you naysayers, negative people, or whatever, keep it to yourself. True. Support. And I say that for any team, and even the Island Games team that's about to disembark and head off to the Island Games. Right after that, it's the Pan Am team heading down to Peru. Our athletes do a lot of this for love. That's true. A lot of them overachieve at times. And when that happens, then we have to show our support. We have Nikki Bascom fighting at the end of this month. That's right. So all this, we just finished with the National Track and Field Championships this weekend. We had the National Swimming Championships last weekend. These athletes are out here doing wonderful things, and we just need to encourage them and give them the support that's needed. And again, I always say this: it's not always financial. It's not always financial.
No, it's not. No.
Yeah, a lot of it is, I see what you're doing. Keep up the good work. A message like that goes a long way for some.
Positive talk.
Yeah. I know a lot of athletes will say, well, we also need financial help. Yes, yeah, I agree. But not everybody's in a position to offer that financial help. But if that encouraging word here or there, and you can acknowledge that person is, acknowledging what you're doing, then I think that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. Cool. Yeah. Cool. We said earlier, it's June 10th.
Yeah.
Before you know it, it'll be December.
Oh, yeah. Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Merry Christmas. And Happy New Year.
And then next year, I bring the cup up to you.
What cup? I'm asking.
You can't even bring. Liverpool colors are going. Never walk alone.
Never walk alone. George Hayward was here today.
One thing for sure done. There'll be a lot of people from Somerset walking together without a cup.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes. He thought you were talking about coffee cup.
Maybe that's what he thinks I'm talking about.
No. It's pondering and saying, okay.
He knows exactly. Listen, Mr. Rollins knows exactly what I'm talking about. Exactly.
So he thinks that St. George is going to come back and win the cup this year. That's basically what
it's pretty certain.
They're coming to St. George's.
It's pretty certain about that.
Yeah.
I had a long talk with a guy this morning. He said, It's rough. I say, yeah. But guess what? The tide comes in and the tide goes out.
Who's your skipper for St. George's?
I'm taking up the position this year. I put my name forward, and
All right.
Yeah.
So if you didn't get it, who's gonna be the skipper?
I don't know. I mean, who I would all 11. All 11.
All 11.
But
Team play.
In all honesty, I believe it's either going to be one or two players. It's probably either they're going to go back to
Dean Miles or Alan Douglas. Right.
See, look where you're going.
I'm just asking.
You might as well say Wendell.
Or Wendell. Or Charlie.
They're either going to go back to OJ Pitcher, or I believe Rodney Trott will be the skipper this year.
I think Rodney Trott would be one of them.
Don't say nothing about my team. You worry about your team.
That's true.
Yeah, who's going to be your skipper this year?
Oh, the one that guided us last year, Mr. D. Silva.
Because the one that they wanted to be skipper didn't go.
That's all right.
The one that you wanted to be your skipper didn't go.
Didn't go where?
To the club.
That's all right. You got to skip him to Jordan.
Oh yeah. And I'm happy for Jordan. Jordan does a wonderful job. I'm happy for Jordan. Yeah,
That's right.
Jordan
That's why he raised the cup last year.
But to be honest, with the added responsibility, Jordan's game has grown in leaps and bounds without a doubt. I've watched him grow in the game. You watch him bat now; he bats more responsible. He's building his ability to set fields. I just think he has now understood what it is to be a leader, and I think with the help of those guys around him, Jordan's doing a remarkable job. But unfortunately, Jordan, it's got to come to an end.
I get it, mate. I get it.
All good things come to an end.
It took me 20 years.
Yeah, well.
All right. It's all good, mate.
Yeah.
Look, you have a safe trip.
I'm going to do the best.
And we look forward to receiving your updates on radio and television.
Yep.
And good luck to Bermuda.
Yes, indeed.
Cool. All right, Don Bass, we're going to wrap it up now. That's our Inside Sports Talk Radio on this Monday. We're going to come back next week, Tuesday, because the holiday is the 17th. So we will be on the air on Tuesday, June 18th.
Audio Jungle.